Hello, this is Jeffrey Kin, Executive Director of Sarasota Rising and the Living Arts Festival, with Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. And I got to tell you, my guest today, I'm going to say, is a masterpiece. Joseph Caulkins, Maestro, we know him as Maestro Joe, is a Renaissance man, and he says that himself. So, hello, Renaissance man. How are you today?
Greetings from the Renaissance. It's nice to be with you.
Forsooth and thou.
Exactly, yes.
Something like that. So, hi, Joe. We are literally, it's great to call you a great friend, and I can't wait for our listeners and viewers to get to know you a little bit better. And I was telling the folks before, your life is fascinating. Like, I really want to be like you when I grow up. But I did stalk you just a little bit. So, on your Facebook account, you say Joseph Caulkins is a conductor, writer, mountaineer, and all-around Renaissance man. So did you write that, or did Michelle write that for you?
I have to say I did write it.
Okay.
It sounds like a copyist did it, but
Is it true?
yeah, it is for the most part. I mean, I do all those things, and I'm one of those people that the more varied experiences I have, the more fun I think life is. And so when I'm not working hard, I'm playing hard. I wish I played more than I do, but that's the nature of the beast. But the way I kind of decompress and find my joy is by physical activity. And I love to be in the mountains. I love to climb. I love to travel, all those kinds of things. So that's the nice thing about having kind of a seasonal job, is it gives you a little bit of time in the summer when it's 12,000 degrees Kelvin here in Florida to go and experience and have something else and kind of get yourself recharged to come back for the season.
There is something that nature does for you. And I just read something where literally if you're in the forest, you're breathing in, I don't know what the word was, like not enzymes, but that it literally helps with your digestion, that like we are meant to be outdoors. And so I would love to know, because of course we all know you as the Maestro, and we know about Key Chorale, which you've done amazing things with, and we just worked together on the festival, which was really fascinating. But this whole mountaineering thing is just fascinating to me. And then I looked up where you were from. Belmont, Iowa.
Exactly.
Belmont, Iowa, Mountaineer. How did that happen? I mean, seriously, you couldn't get anything further from Iowa.
Well, I have to say, when you grow up in Iowa, everything is exotic, and there's nothing more exotic than mountains. So when I was a kid, I just fantasized about mountains. And I remember when I was very young, we traveled to Colorado for a family wedding, and I remember sitting in Bear Lake on this rock, staring at Hallett Peak, which is a really beautiful, looks kind of like the prudential symbol of insurance. Really great rock. I remember sitting there, and I thought to myself, someday I'm gonna climb a mountain. That's what I'm gonna do. And then, of course, nothing happened for like 20 years. And then I was really overweight. Michelle couldn't even get me to get off the couch to go do anything. I was not an outdoorsy person. And my uncle, who's just a few years older than I am, said, I'm interested. Maybe we be hiking up a 14,000-foot peak in Colorado. Are you in? I said, oh, I'd love to do that. That'd be great. So we decided this would be a good way for these two fat guys to lose a little bit of weight, and get outside and see some nature. And my uncle Jerry got up to about 10,000 feet and said, "Oh, this is it for me." And so he stayed there. I went and I hiked up that mountain, and then I said to myself, "This is my jam. I love this." And so I've been climbing for about 20 years now.
Wow. And I mean, when I started reading a little bit about you, I mean, it's fascinating doing this podcast because, there's things you know and you don't know. But when I
Right.
saw Matterhorn, my brain just went like, my brain exploded. I'm like, the Matterhorn? Like, that has been in your life.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite climbs, and it's an iconic peak. And what's interesting when you climb a lot, I've climbed a lot in the Alps, and when you're in the Alps, you're at a mountain, a summit, and you're looking around and you're kind of identifying this peak and that peak, and the Matterhorn always looks like this. It's got kind of like a little crooked finger, and I always, wherever I was in the Alps, I go, oh, there's a Matterhorn. Maybe someday I'll climb that. And then to actually have done it, it was so amazing to be kind of overwhelming that particular peak because it's such an iconic peak, and it was one of those things where I think 200 of us uh, left that day to climb the peak, and I think it was 12 of us that made it because they had it was summer, but they had an unusual amount of snowfall that happened, and the route was shut down. And so, because I'm very good with an ice axe and crampons and all that stuff, my friend and I, we were able to climb it. But he said it was he'd climbed a couple times, and he said it was like climbing in winter. There was that much snow, and so we were in crampons the entire way up. And but it's like it's at the beginning, the what it was 4 in the morning or whatever when we left, it was just mayhem, 200 people trying to climb this mountain. And then and it's just, I mean, it was crazy, crazy. And then like a half an hour later, you go, oh, where'd everybody go? Hey, hey.
Wow. Wow. I
But
mean, and they're all okay. They just said, "Hey, I'm out." They just tapped out, right?
they tapped out.
They
Yeah,
didn't,
no,
like, fall off a precipice or something, right?
no, but that
Okay.
does happen a lot on that mountain. But it's it's one of those things where I think what's really interesting about it is I love what we call mixed climbing, which is some rock climbing, some ice climbing, and the Matterhorn is one of those where sometimes you're rock climbing, sometimes you're climbing in crampons. One of the best parts about that climb is you kind of come around one corner, and it's like about a 12 or 13 hour climb.
Yeah.
But when you come around the north side and you're on this sheer uh, ice face, and you're just doing your thing, and you can, and it's so steep, you can look down and you go, oh, that's like 3,000 feet down to my death. So I'm gonna try to hold on.
Fearless. I love that. And so just so you know, I was sitting, and this has been for several years, I've said this before, because I often have people say, "Gosh, I don't know how you get up on why do you get up on stage? Why do you do this? Why do you, doing different characters or acting in different shows?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, why do those idiots climb a mountain?" I mean, so it's really I've actually used that as I think those people are insane. And then those people probably think
Sure.
I'm insane, you know?
Probably.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's
m mountain climbing, that really is fascinating. Yeah.
well, it's my favorite thing to do, and I wish I could do more of it, but I do my best to do a couple trips every year, and it's there again. It's funny because there's a lot of parallels to climbing a mountain and doing the kind of work we do because
Oh my god, I can't wait for you to keep talking. Just keep talking. This is gonna be gold right here.
well, I think what happens is when you do a performance, you start the preparation begins so far in advance of when the actual show happens. When you get to the show, you don't even realize it. We've been working on this project for maybe a year or 2 years, and all of those, it's a million tiny little decisions that all get put together into a production. And in mountaineering, it's the same thing. It's a thousand tiny steps that add up, and every step you make you have to think about and say, is this the right choice? Is this what I should be doing? And all, you have to plan for which route am I going to climb, what kind of equipment do I need, what's the route to the trailhead, all those things. And so the planning parts happen so far in advance of when you climb it. And like something like the Matterhorn, because it's so high, you have to acclimatize. So you end up climbing maybe 3 to 4 peaks, maybe staying overnight at elevation like 11 or 12,000 feet to get your body able to work in those
Right,
conditions. And
right.
what's interesting is the first day you climb at elevation, it is really just like someone just punched you in the gut.
Oh, I know.
It's
Yeah, Machu Picchu here. I mean, literally,
oh,
there was
exactly.
one day I thought I was gonna die. Like, I could not breathe, and I almost called for the oxygen tank because, but I didn't. You know what? I pushed through it like a bad hangover, and
Yeah,
it ended up being okay, but it was like it was, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Where's my Alka-Seltzer Plus?"
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Because I remember, every time I do that, it's like that first day, it's just a suck fest. You're just and you say to yourself, "Why am I doing this?" And then, like,
Yeah,
2 days later, you go, "Oh, I'm great. I'm back
yeah.
in." It's
Well,
funny.
we are starting at, like, 0 sea level. I mean,
That
like
doesn't help either.
we almost we couldn't get more 0 than where we are. I mean, any more 0 and we're underwater, so
Exactly.
it's kinda crazy. So do you think then that mountaineering has helped develop your leadership skills, or has your music helped develop your leadership skills?
I think it's definitely more the mountaineering thing, and this
Uh-huh.
sounds a little, uh, remote, just a little funky, but it's true. When you're in the mountains and you're on a route, and there are a lot of decisions you have to make that are really life and death decisions. And what I found is when you make those kinds of decisions where your life really is maybe in the balance, or a choice you're going to make has a difference, um, it makes all the other decisions I make in a day really easy.
Yeah,
So decision making, because when you're really making that kind of a decision, um, you learn how to do it with. I think you can remove yourself from the picture a little bit, and you can really just say what are the pros, what are the cons, and you make a decision. You have to make a decision quickly.
right,
And so before I was climbing and mountaineering, when there was a decision that had to be made, I would be that person that would wait as long as possible. I'd weigh all the options.
right,
Now it's like you go, okay, this and this and this. Okay, we're doing that, and then on to the next thing. So
right.
my decision making is a lot faster. I don't know if it's better, but it's certainly faster.
Yeah, well, but you mean it all takes forethought. I love your quote that you feel that leadership is taking people beyond their own expectations. That is really profound.
Well,
Where did that come from, that saying? Did you steal it
um,
from somebody or did you make that up?
I think I just made it up. I don't remember ever seeing it, but it was. One of the things that I thought about it sometimes, the less politically correct version of that statement is, sometimes in my business I have to drag people kicking and screaming to success, no matter how hard they. There's also that part, but
Yeah. Can I quote you on that, by the way?
sure, yeah,
Yeah, let me get that.
but it's one of those things where I started putting that on the top of every lesson plan I do, because that's really, to me, a conductor. Your job is to get the best out of everybody that's in front of you. So every lesson plan, every rehearsal plan I have that there to just sort of center me and remind myself that my job is to take people beyond what they think they can do on their own. And that's really the best part. And the same thing, kind of like an audience. I mean, you're wanting to take people to unexpected places, but it's a matter of I really do take that seriously about if I'm not trying to transform people's lives through music, then why am I doing this business? So it's really comes back to when I was younger. All I cared about was a standing ovation and applause and blah blah blah. Now I could care less about any of that, but I do think more about what's the legacy piece. When you leave, will people be better because of the interactions they had with you, and that really becomes probably more the motivating force. And I think with it's not just singers and instrumentalists. It's my Parkinson's disease clients. It's whoever you're in front of. I think you have that opportunity to make a big difference in their lives, and to treat everybody with a lot of respect, but also uh, to, even if you've got like a health challenge, that doesn't mean you can't be great at something. And so when I was younger, I had a mentor of mine that said, you're limiting your groups because you think they can only do this or only do that. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, when you work with your children's chorus, you treat them like children, and you think they can do this and they can't do this. And when you go work with your men's group, you have this level of expectations. And he says, your level of expectations should be exactly the same no matter who you're in front of. And I thought, that does make sense. And I started trying to practice that, put that into practice. And what I found out was wow, all these groups can do a lot of things, and I was limiting. I thought, oh, well, they can't do this, or they shouldn't do this, or they're not good at this. But when I sort of just assume that they can do it, even if they don't do it, they sure try
That's
as
right.
hard as they can to do it.
And I've talked about this, that ability to help people fail just a little bit. And I've talked about this. I had a board freak out at me when I was with the players when I said something. They said, "Well, this didn't go well." I'm like, "Yeah, that was a lesson they needed to learn." And they were like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I said I knew that was going to happen, and they needed." And they're like, "But you," I'm like, "No, that's not my job. My job isn't to make their lives perfect. I have to help them get to a place where they can learn something. If I'm doing everything for them, then they're never learning."
Very
Um,
true.
well, I'm a big fan of you, and of your organization, and of course, your student scholars. So this is just, I mean, you have so many plates spinning like all the time, but I love your student scholars. Obviously, I get to coach them twice a year on just kind of sometimes how to sell a song, and it's kind of become a little bit of a empowering situation. Because you don't know how much you know until you're with a group of people that are like sponges, and they want what
Exactly.
it's a great feeling. So you have your student scholars that you work with every year. You have I lost my keys. Where are my
Close.
keys?
Where are my keys chorale?
Where are my keys corral? And then that is you're working with people with memory issues.
Right.
And we all know what music, I mean, that is proven that music activates a part of your brain like nothing else. And you probably see that, what, on a weekly basis
On a
with
weekly basis.
them. Have you ever been astounded? Has anything happened to you when you're with those folks that made you stop and think about the universe just a little bit more?
Probably almost every week. I always tell people that we do 2 hours of two different groups each Thursday, morning and afternoon, and we've been doing it for a long time. And we work with the Where Are My Keys chorale. We have one group that is further along in their journey than others, and so it really varies. But the one that really struck me early on, because we were just it was maybe our second or third session of this, and we were at JFCS of the Suncoast, and there was a gentleman in there, and he was singing away and just having a great time, and his caregiver was taking all these photos and texting everybody, and was kind of being a little bit of a distraction. But I thought, well, do your thing. And afterwards, I said, "Wow!" I said, "I feel like the paparazzi was here with all that photos you took." And she says, "This was a really big day." And I said, "Why is that?" He says, "My husband hasn't talked in 20 years." And he sang, and on the way out, he said, "Goodbye, Joe." And I'm like, and I tell people when we work with these clients that, it's an up and down. Every day is a little different for every client, but there's those kinds of moments you would say, oh, that happens maybe once in a while, kind of all the time. And I've got to the point now where when I do these groups, it's easy music for me. It's fun for me. It's kind of playtime for me, and we really just have a good time. But the thing I think is interesting is I look for level of engagement, and we have one group that we do at Town Square, Sarasota, which is like about 50 singers. I say singers are all my singers, even though they may not really be a singer, but they're
Right.
singing that hour. And
Participants, yes.
exactly, and so you just kind of walk around and you see. Sometimes there can be someone that will be mostly lifeless, catatonic, for maybe half the rehearsal, and all of a sudden a song that they know or something clicks, and all of a sudden they're engaged at a high level. We have some people that have aphasia. They're not able to communicate and say sentences, but they can sing the lyrics they know of "Home on the Range" or "This Land Is Your Land," and it's really interesting. And the thing that I thought when I started this, that it would be like Groundhog Day. I'm going to have the same rehearsal every time. You're not going to be able to pick up stuff, and it's not really some people would say, oh, it's probably like a sing along. It's not like a sing along. It really is structured exactly like a chorus. They get 8 to 8 to 11 songs that we learn over the course of 8 weeks. The eighth week is a little party celebration, sing through the concert. But what's interesting is even with our people that are dealing with Alzheimer's, dementia, even that particular population, from week to week, they're making incremental improvements. So they're, it's a song they know, but they don't know the tenor part to it. They don't know the alto part. So they're learning um, pieces they know, but they're learning how to put these together. And even things like I might put a subito piano, a very, a suddenly soft section, and I'll mention it, and I won't say anything the following week, and they do it.
And they
And there's
retain.
and they
Wow.
retain it, and
Wow.
they really are. They make incremental improvements every week, and by the eighth week, they've learned all these songs, and they sound good. And but that we just didn't think that that was going to be the case. But it's powerful because music can transform lives. But I always tell people this: these Thursdays are like you're seeing music make a difference in people's lives in real time. Absolutely, when it happens. And, sometimes it's as simple as somebody who for 3 rehearsals, um, was not engaged, and all of a sudden the light's on and they're engaged, and you just celebrate that moment and you hope that you get another one. But it's a powerful music is such a powerful thing, and to be able to be in my position to just see it happening is just it's magical, really.
So how did so I would just like, because you know what, as artists, we come up with all these ideas, and so how did that come about? Did you get funding? Like, right, to me, this sounds like a funding dream. Like anybody would look at their portfolio and say, "Wow, I want to help with this." Were you funded automatically, and where did the idea of the "I lost my keys" come from?
Well, actually, it started with quite a few years ago, 2010, I think it was, or 2012. I was approached by the Neuro Challenge for Parkinson's.
Okay.
And they said, uh, the story is I was living in Fort Myers. I was driving back and forth. I had an orchestra that I was working with, my choirs and key chorale, and I got this from Doreen Sutherland, who now has passed. But Doreen had sent me this message. She said, "We're thinking about starting a choir for people that have Parkinson's. Are you interested?" And I thought, "No, I'm not interested at all." And I politely said, "I don't think I really have time to do it, but I'm flattered that you asked." And she said, "Well, there's a at that time I think there was certainly less than 15 choruses in the world that were doing this." And she said, "Can I send you an article to read?" I said, "Sure, send me an article, sure." So and I didn't want to do this. I didn't have time to do it. I don't know anything about health. I don't, I don't know anything about old people. I don't know what to do. And so she sent me this article. And I read the article, and the article was it was a ballet dancer who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and she talked about just living with Parkinson's, what that was like. And all the time she was a ballerina, she always wanted to sing, but she had too many rehearsals, couldn't do it. She had, then they had kids, and it just never happened. And there was a choir being created for those living with Parkinson's, and she joined the choir, and she got to sing, and she just really felt enriched by it. And the quote that got me at the end of the article, she says, every day since I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's has taken something away from me. This is the only thing that Parkinson's has ever given me. It's given me my voice. And I went, okay, I guess I'm doing this. Uh, and I didn't really know what I'm doing. I'm good with vocal pedagogy, knowing the science of the voice, those kinds of things. So I met with the neurosurgeon, neurologist, Dr. Sutherland, and I said, "Can you tell me more about this disease? I'm trying to figure out what kind of things I'm going to do with them." And he really decoded it for me and talked about what kind of things they're doing in therapy to improve their voice, to make their voice louder, to work on breathing. And so what I did is I kind of took all that information he presented, and then thought to myself, okay, let's create vocal exercises that work on all these different aspects.
Wow. Right.
So every time we're together, the first 10 minutes are physical exercises, breathing exercises, phonation, all of those kinds of things. And what we found, especially with Parkinson's, and this is pretty much to every singer that is in that group. By the time they're at the eighth week, they are louder. You can hear them louder.
Oh,
You can hear them talking. Their articulation improves. Their sense of swallow, which is a real issue with Parkinson's, is better. It really is making it's a health benefit, and they're getting the same kind of things that they would get in therapy. But of course, no one wants to do therapy because that's no fun.
no
And
fun.
this is really great. They get Parkinson's is a very isolating kind of disease. So this
Right.
is something that brings people together. So they have the socialization aspect. They have the therapeutic benefits of singing, all the cognitive things that happen. And so, we started with that. And then, when that was our first group and we had that for many years. And then my mother-in-law and my grandfather both had Alzheimer dementia. And I just thought to myself, maybe some of this could apply to that. And there again, we kind of stumbled into a dark room until we could figure out how to decode it. And we've been doing, we do 72 hours of community outreach just with our Parkinson's, our cognitive folks, every year. Um, and in doing that, I think we've really understand a lot more about how the system works. And what's interesting is the same system that we do for Parkinson's. I don't change one thing. We do exactly the same thing, all the same exercises. I thought, why am I doing these exercises? And all of a sudden, I realized that those exercises were helping even people with Alzheimer, dementia, all of those things. So it's one of those things that really it's powerful to see, but it's interesting how this one concept that we can do, we can really replicate it with any. It could be just seniors with whatever health challenge they may have. It
Right,
doesn't have to
right.
be a specific challenge, but whatever those challenges are, this music meets them at a place that I think really is engaging, and they get a lot of social benefits to it. And
And it's fun.
yeah, and there again,
I
like we
mean,
were talking,
yeah. I mean, it's fun. Well, that is it really is incredible, and then I always love where ideas come from because I know you also have a big January coming up, so these ideas of how you're helping and working with people in the community, but then you also obviously have a chorus that is doing some great performances in January. It kind of all ties into a really strong mission. I think I've seen your guys before, your American Storytellers. It's 3 brothers, right? The
yeah, we've done.
Ludenbach brother no, wait,
You're awfully close. That's the
Ludenbach?
no Lubin Brothers.
Lubin brothers. Yeah,
I
I've
always say
seen them.
Lubin,
Lubin, okay. I'm
and
nothing says Lubin like Lub yeah, anyway. So you have the American Roots Storytellers, that's happening in January. You're doing, Verdi's Requiem?
we do the next month, February 15th. We do Verdi's Requiem. The weekend before that, we're doing our Baroque Fest, which is three concerts over 2 days. That was supposed to happen during Milton. We didn't for
Oh,
obvious reasons. So that
yeah.
got moved now to February 7 and 8. So we have three really big projects all kind of on top of each other, not by design, but it is what we're dealing with. But it's interesting. What I love about this group is I have a really varied taste of music. And what I always tell people, what I want to do is, I think when people think of choirs, they have a certain idea in their head of what that is. And my job is to make sure that that idea in their head is a lot more vibrant than what they're thinking, because we think we can do so many different styles, different kinds of things. Like the American Roots Storytellers is all custom arrangements that we're doing with the Levins. They have a really very cool folk kind of vibe to them. We've done a couple collaborations. This one is kind of the idea of an American Roots Storytellers, which are you know uh, uh, Simon and Garfunkel,
Oh,
uh, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald,
wow.
Fire and Rain. Things that most of our audience, those are things, songs they grew up with. Time
Right.
in a Bottle, Scarborough Fair, all that. So we kind of gathered together some of the best kind of music from that era that tells really interesting stories. And the Lovin' Brothers original music is very much in that storytelling genre. So
Yep.
it's a really nice way to just bring choral music to people that what they'll want to come and hear Simon and Garfunkel. They may not want to come and hear Verdi Requiem. So you get them in the
Yeah,
door and let them, see the group, to hear the group. And I think what's great is the ensemble, both our chamber singers and our full chorale, they've got such a breadth of what they can do stylistically now. They can go from a Verdi Requiem to Cirque du Voix or to the Storytellers. There's just a lot of variety, and I think because they're working in so many styles, they become better musicians, and we get better at adapting to those styles.
of course. And don't forget that the Love Brothers play like every instrument known to man. I mean, it's
That is also true.
watching them pick up like a dozen instruments each is fascinating. So, Joe, you know what? I can't wait for part 2 of our conversation. Uh, because I think there's like I have so many more questions. I have questions I've written out. I've typed them out.
Oh my God,
Um,
they
and we
will have.
can't get to them. So I apologize in advance, but boy, it is surely a wonderful treat to be across the hall from you. Thanks so much for your
Nice
time.
to
I
meet you.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, it's always fun chatting with you, and it's funny, we know a lot about each other, but still a lot we don't know.
Yeah. And that's what this talking is all about. So thanks so
Exactly.
much. So this has been
Absolutely.
I love it. This has been Jeffrey Kidd with Maestro Joseph Caulkins on Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. We love our conversations with our arts practitioners, and we appreciate your listening and watching. So take good care. Thanks.
All right. See you, everybody.
Thanks for being in our audience. I'm Jeffrey Kidd, Sarasota Rising Living Arts Festival. If you'd like more information about the incredible work that Visit Sarasota does, please visit them at visitsarasota.com. Thanks so much for being a part of our audience.